Hello everybody, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. This time I'm reviewing the 11th monthly adventure from Big Finish Productions. It is The Apocalypse Element. This is a continuation of the companionship of Evelyn Smythe and the 6th Doctor, the third such story with this pairing, and is the second story in what Big Finish loosely put together as called the Dalek Empire series. The first one we've already done, which is of course the Genocide Machine, starring the 7th Doctor. So, basic plot of this one: the Doctor and Evelyn arrive on a conference at Architrex between major temporal powers. They discover that Romana has been missing for 20 years, and the Daleks' newest weapon, the Apocalypse Element, threatens not only the Time Lords but the entire galaxy. So the first two episodes are really set on this conference, the space station for this conference, and at the end of it, the Daleks apparently destroy Architrex with the element, with the weapon they have. The plot then goes to Gallifrey, where the Daleks are trying to get into Gallifrey, and ultimately they threaten to use the Apocalypse Element to destroy a local galaxy called Serafina. What happened after that? The device gets activated, and the destruction starts radiating out from the galaxy at a speed and pace which potentially could engulf the whole universe if it's not stopped. So the Doctor and Romana end up rigging up the Hour of Harmony as a power source to stop this. It doesn't quite work, but the Daleks then come into play because they've realised they've mucked up and come in to try and help out, and they end up stopping the explosion by using all their mental energies they found from these crystals that they found. So the Daleks found some elements that are very powerful on a hidden planetoid called Etra Prime. It seems to be phasing in and out of time, and they found this element and they have been trying to utilise it for destruction. Ultimately, the Daleks' plan was to use it to create a galaxy completely new that they'd be able to conquer quite easily and have a big Dalek base for further conquest. And it includes the appearance again of Romana, the Time Lord from the 4th Doctor's era, who was the companion, played again by Lalla Ward, and also includes other characters we've seen before, like Vansel, who's played by Anthony Keach once more. Vansel was part of the main plot line and the interfering Celestial Intervention Agency agent from the Sirens of Time. And the idea of the Doctor and Vansel working together is a bit of an element to the story, and there's a bit of a frisson between the two of them, but they do end up working together at the end of it, because Vansel's ideas of trying to get, of trying to obtain technology from the Monan civilization, which is one of the time-sensitive civilizations that is there as part of the conference, because they have technology that he fancies, ends up with the Daleks coming in and trying to infiltrate and attack Gallifrey. It's really an interesting kind of political plot. As I say, it is two bits to it. You've got the first part, which is around Architrex and the conference, and the second part, which is the ambush and the siege of Gallifrey, and the ultimate outcome of the destruction of the galaxy, Serafix. So we'll go through all the characters and just have a quick discussion about each of them. So we start, of course, with the Doctor, played by Colin Baker. You get the feeling he's back. He's found his role now. He found how to play it and the way he wants to play it, and he has a great foil in Evelyn, who's able to stabilise him when he gets a bit too frustrated. But all the bits of the Doctor that we know of this Doctor, who happens to have a kind of recklessness to him, I can't think of what the name would be now, kind of like a fatalist attitude to things, and when things get really rough, he wants to branch out on his own and do his own thing, and he doesn't want people involved with this and try and fix things. He wants to do it on his own. His fatalist elements come out, his frustration, his annoyance comes out, but it's becoming more tempered, and he's realising obviously he can stretch too far sometimes, and his annoyance of Vansel shows the kind of arrogant side of the 6th Doctor that we used to. But there's also the situation with Evelyn, who's there to help temper the character, and it really does get well played by Colin Baker. He does not put a foot wrong in this story. It really is a stunning performance, and you believe him, you root for him all the way, and that's not just a testament to the writing, but also testament to the actor. Colin Baker never put a foot wrong in regards to what material was original series, but there was quite a few stories that weren't up to par. And it's good when you have a writer like Stephen Cole coming in and actually writing for the Sixth Doctor the way the Sixth Doctor should be, and the way it ultimately gives a better and more nuanced and effective Doctorish performance than just the brash and arrogant Sixth Doctor that we know from the television series. And this The Apocalypse element is probably one of the better examples of early Big Finish of the Sixth Doctor's character that we become to appreciate and love in later years. We then have Evelyn, played by Maggie Stables, of course. This is the third story that Evelyn included in the Big Finish audios, and Maggie Stables has now found her feet. The quips that she has there in the story are brilliant. The best one, I think, is the one when she turns around and starts saying, quoting herself as a beautiful person to the Dalek, when her legs get paralysed in the 4th episode. She's utilised as the key, for the iris key, for all the security systems in Gallifrey, because the Daleks have decided to start gruesomely taking eyes out of dead Time Lords or living Time Lords, because it's iris scanning that's used to open doors and open security things in Gallifrey when Daleks do infiltrate, and Evelyn's used as a kind of safeguard, and she is utilised a little bit more horribly near the end, I suppose, with the Daleks and the mistreating. But do you know what? She's a really great foil, and she does kind of bring the Doctor to heel when he goes a bit too far. And I just love the way Maggie Stables plays Evelyn. She is really relatable here. She has a slightly snide comments, but she has a lot to do. She's going from place to place. She doesn't want to sit there because, I'm old, I don't want to do stuff. She really wants to get in nitty-gritty here. And she's going with Trinket and Vansel, and she ends up with Vorna at some points, and she ends up going back and forth between Ensak and Vorna and Vrint and Reldarf just to work together and just try and get some sort of group together. And she's very much in the proactive mode and make sure that she is there supporting the Doctor, wants to help the Doctor, make sure the Doctor gets the best he can out of the situation, and ultimately she is one of the key factors in helping the Doctor and Romana to ultimately create the device they need to contain the explosion the Daleks have created in this story. And it's really a really great portrayal. You've then got Romana, played by Lalla Ward. This is a return for Romana in the series, Lalla Ward's first appearance in Doctor Who media since she left in Warrior's Gate, which I've already reviewed, of course, for the channel. Two halves to the character here. You've got the half who does want to help the Doctor and will rely on the Doctor, but has that kind of arrogance and that kind of self-sufficiency that Romana always had comes through when she needs to. And she was Lord President initially, and then she was kept captive for 20 years. And that initial time you see Romana where she's jaded and she's feeling weak, or is weak because of lack of food and that, but is still got that kind of mentality where she won't break 100% for the Daleks, and she does want to find a way of escaping at some point, which she does. It's interesting how that all comes through and how that works, and it's really nice to have that kind of character still there. It's a natural development of Romana. It's kind of like this independent Time Lord that we learn to have with the second Romana shows her strength here, and it's really great to see Romana in such a great little role with the Sixth Doctor, and I think it really does make a big difference to the overall feel and the dynamics between him, Evelyn and Romana. It's nice that she gets the chance to use the time crystals, or the crystals that the Daleks are using to help enhance their mental powers and communicate, to try and interfere with Daleks' plans, but it doesn't quite work and she just gets knocked out. But that kind of independent streak that Romana always had, especially the second version of Romana, is here, and it's really nice to see and really nice to hear. And she becomes the president of the High Council at the end of the story, properly again, and it's really nice hearing the way it's played, and I do like the way Romana is played here by Lalla Ward, and you can certainly see why she's used as a kind of catalyst for the Gallifrey and the Dalek Empire series later on. And yeah, it's really nice. We've then got Monitor Trinket, played by Karen Henson. She comes from Architrex. She's seen as initially as a head of security for the conference. She then gets tagged along with the adventure and is kind of a semi-leader along with Reldarth throughout the story. And it's played very well by Karen Henson, but it's kind of it's a slight piecemeal character. There is a bit of spunk there at the beginning, and you get a sense of her character near the beginning when she's not really having the best time with Vorna, commander of the station, in Architrex initially. So it's an interesting dynamic, but when she comes into her own and she's determined to help save Gallifrey afterwards. It's played very well, and I like the character as a whole from Trinket. It's a character you're happy just to go along with and listen to, but there's nothing major that pick out of them, which is a bit of a shame. You then get Anzac, deputy, played by James Campbell. Lovely little role, nice little setup for the character. He's a plot point to an extent, so he doesn't get too much, but what he does get is fine. It works for the role. And it's nice to see that there's kind of dynamic between the monitor and the assistant monitor, and see how they work together, and how Ensac's a bit more trying to be more helpful and ends up being taken over by the Daleks. The Daleks kind of have a Dalek duplicates across Architrix in the first bit of the story, which is a nice little subterfuge, and Ensac turns out to be one of them at the end, which is a bit of a shame, really. Ensac is a decent character, but doesn't really get much to do apart from being a Dalek's pawn. We then have Coordinator Vansel, played by Anthony Keach. I love the way Vansel's used here as a kind of snidey, conniving CIA agent, which he had the reputation of in Sirens of Time, and that the way he grates between the Doctor and himself throughout the story is really nice, because the Doctor's obviously got a kind of reputation with him after Sirens of Time, and the way he's always trying to look out for Gallifrey and trying to give extra technology for Gallifrey, and really Vansel was the one who effectively persuades the Lord President, played by Michael Wade, to let the Monans in, as he thought the Monans, but they turned out to be the Daleks in disguise. It's really interesting how that's played, and it's a really nice little role here from Anthony Keach. He gets a bit more to do than he did in Sirens of Time. He's a bit more proactive. He's, trying to make sure that the Gallifrey is defended as much as possible, but also helps out with some of the technical aspects of the equipment they need to help contain the explosion near the end of the story. And overall, it's a nice little dynamic between him and the Doctor throughout, and the Doctor grudgingly starts to accept that Vansel is useful and is actually trying to do good for Gallifrey, but at the end of the day, there's still that frisson between the two of them. It's really nice to hear and see. We've then got the President, played by Michael Wade. Now, he comes across as a very dry, stuffy politician who wants to help, is maybe a bit of a soft touch, and ends up effectively dying for trying to bargain with the Daleks. And it's played okay by Michael Wade, and he's there throughout the story as a kind of representative of Gallifrey. It's nice to hear the kind of political side of Gallifrey and how ineffectual it can be in these circumstances, but do you know what? It's played okay, and I don't mind it at all. The only other the actor I want to mention here is Andrew Fetz, who plays Vrint initially, who's one of the Monan prisoners along with Romana, and then later on he plays Reldarth, captain, one of the armies of Architrix, and he comes into the role and he becomes a kind of love interest for Trinket throughout the story, and by the end of it they're going off together. Andrew Fetz plays both roles very well, very, very pleasingly. He's not quite a glorified plot point, but there's not much to him outside of him being there as part of the action. But ultimately, it's a worthwhile role. There are others here, but they've got small enough roles. The only other thing I would mention is obviously the Dalek voices with Alistair Locke and Nicholas Briggs. The Dalek sound, the ring modulator sounds that have been used for the Daleks is a lot better. Alistair Locke doesn't quite hit it as well as Nicholas Briggs, but Nicholas Briggs is starting to find his voice of the Daleks, and we see that very soon in the Dalek voices in later stories. Do you know what? I actually do like the way that Nicholas Briggs is presenting the Black Dalek, particularly on this. And he's starting to get the nuance of all the different Dalek voices, which is really nice to hear. Alistair Locke is okay, but you can understand why maybe he stepped back eventually, because Nicholas Briggs is finding his way now and is actually becoming very good as a Dalek. When it comes to the story itself, as I say, it's two parts. You've got all the political intrigue in Architrix, and in fact the planetoid that keeps appearing, Etra Prime, and what's within that. And Romana's been imprisoned in Etra Prime all this time. That plot point of it appearing and disappearing every so often, the Daleks have utilised that to mine the Apocalypse element that they're going to use later in the story, and found those crystals they've been using to have their minds projected and used for other powers and other ideas. It all comes from that planet. It's interesting how that planet is used, because it's then used to ram into the space station on Architrix, which is really, really nasty of the Daleks, but it shows their ruthlessness. It shows their ruthlessness about it. And the thing I like about this story is the Daleks are kind of defeated to an extent in regards to taking over Gallifrey, but their main motive was to use the High of Harmony to create this new version of the galaxy, and ultimately the Daleks have kind of half won it. It's one of these few stories in Doctor Who where the Daleks actually do have a win, in this instance, and the Doctor kind of feels that maybe that is the case at some points, because he's kind of been a bit dejected and fatalistic in his outlook, but I like that element of it. The second part is kind of basically a Planet Under Siege part story, but it's written so well by Stephen Cole. It goes along at a lick, it goes along at a pace, it really does grab you, and it's really one of these stories that I think really does justify its high rating with people, because it is a really good story. It's actually, I think it's actually slightly better than The Genocide Machine, and for that my rating reflects that. However, it's not full 5 TARDISes out of 5. There is elements there. Stephen Cole's writing's fine. It's adapted from a novel. I think because some of the smaller roles are kind of plot points, they're not really utilised to the full extent to give a full brace of the atmosphere. But the first time I've having come some sort of space opera on Big Finish, it does it really well, and the audio works quite well. There isn't really any music in the background, it's more atmospheric throughout. It's nice to have that, just having the soundscape and not having any kind of music to complement it. It does make a difference in some respects, and it really works for me. Overall, I would give this Doctor Who audio drama, the first for the Big Finish audios, 4.5 TARDISes out of 5. Let's see how that stacks up with the rest of the Big Finish audios I've reviewed so far. The Apocalypse Element is the first 4.5 TARDISes out of 5 Doctor Who Big Finish audio. We then have The Genocide Machine and The Spectre of Lanyon Moor with 4 TARDISes out of 5. And then we have 3.5 TARDISes for The Signs of Time, Phantasmagoria, The Whispers of Terror, The Fearmonger, The Marian Conspiracy and Red Dawn. And at the bottom, 3 TARDISes out of 5 for The Land of the Dead and Winter for the Adept. That's it from me. Thanks guys for watching this Doctor Who review for Big Finish. There is another review for Rose on Wednesday at 6 PM GMT, so hopefully you can join me for that. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about the Apocalypse Element. Do you like it? Leave a comment down below. Do you not like it? Leave a comment down below. And if you like the video, don't forget to like it and share it with the hashtag teamstructor, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell so you know when a new video comes out. General rule, new video every Sunday at 4 PM GMT. I am back, I say, on Wednesday at 6 PM GMT, but if you want to follow other socials of the Deanstructor strands, you can go to Instagram, Facebook, you can go to the Patreon at patreon.com/Deanstructor for as little as £1 or $1 a month. You can help support the channel. You've got 3 levels. Level 1 gives you a name check at the end of the video. Level 2 allows you to get videos in advance of them being released on YouTube. And level 3 allows you to get videos that are not ever going to be released on YouTube available to view specially for patrons. But that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening and, of course, watching, and I shall see you next time. Until then, guys, thanks so much for watching. Do you know what? I will see you later.